All right, we'll do some questions.
And tell me if this is true or not. Certainly in the 1990s, there were a lot of studies trying to improve biological predisposition, sort of thing. But it was interesting. I was talking with a young lady the other day who identifies as queer, and she said that there's actually a movement within the gay community to not find any kind of predisposition or biological component. Because if that's true, then there could be a medical.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, yeah, it's been going around, but you see, so we are queer by choice, which is a great movement because it is about choice. However, if you want to choose to be gay, you also should have the right not to be gay. It's very interesting. I need to tell some people. There was a movement a while back where they actually wanted to pass a law nationally, and they went state to state, that a person under 18 years old who wanted therapy to change his sexual orientation could not, the law would prevent him from seeking professional help to diminish his unwanted same-sex attraction, even if his parents consented. In California, it passed. Then it went to New Jersey, it passed. Then it went to Virginia, it was defeated. Then it went to Maryland, it was defeated. Then it went to Washington State, it was defeated. Then it went to Minnesota, right here. Defeated. Well, but you're not going to read it in the press. If the R6 we never get to repeat. Right? Illinois, defeated. Now, how is it possible that the first two passed and all the others defeated? Because we were not prepared with our defenses. We were caught short. We didn't know what to do about it. But the way we defeated all the others is that we showed up. Who's we? People who came out of homosexuality. And individuals went before the state legislature and said, I was once homosexual and I changed. I was once sexually molested and that was the creation of my homosexuality. And when I resolved that trauma, my homosexuality disappeared. I have the right to do that, and other young people have the right to do that. And it's been defeated ever since. So it's good to know. Good to know. Yeah.
You said you were skipping over the female homosexuality. Could you talk about that?
Sure, real quickly. Okay. See, now, again, this might, the boy has an additional developmental task that the girl doesn't have to do. The girl is primarily identified with the mother. So if she maintains her identification with the mother, her femininity will be built in. It comes with the identification. The boy has to do the additional step of disidentifying with the mother and bonding with the father. And that might explain why there is more male homosexuality, because as Stoller said, masculinity is an achievement. And some people say the ratio between lesbianism and male homosexuality is 5-to-1, 7-to-1, 11-to-1. We're not too sure, but we know there's much more male homosexuality than lesbianism. So let's look at why would a female become lesbian. You have three basic causes. One is the very earliest infantile attachment with the mother, where the mother is going through a period of stress, so she attunes to the baby and then she disattunes, and then attunes and disattunes. The baby feels connected, not connected, abandoned, and then reconnected, and then so if this goes back and forth, the child just shuts down as a defense. It's called dissociation. It's an infantile defense against affect dysregulation, dissociation, zoning out. Okay, so that emotional connection with the mother is just shut down. And then she grows up, and this is the kind of cases where, oh, I thought I was heterosexual, and suddenly I met this girl, and it was like crazy glue. It's like, that's it. We were fused together. It's as if all these early maternal, deep, affectional identification needs were suppressed, and now they get refocused onto this other person. So that's the first type. The second type is the more masculine kind of lesbian. And this is the girl who disidentified with the mother and bonded with the father. In other words, she did what the boy is supposed to do, disidentify with the mother and bond with the father. But why would a girl do this? In certain family situations, you have a very passive, inadequate mother. And the girl sees the mother as passive, inadequate, and the father as salient and charismatic. And he's the guy that gives me the love and attention. And if I stay with mother, mother is weak. Femininity is weakness. If the father is abusive to the mother, that's even more so. So femininity is seen as a negative. And so she, in fantasy, identifies as daddy's little boy. And she assumes a masculine identification. Now sometimes you'll get that masculine type with the first type, which is a more passive, docile type of lesbian. I know we're speaking in generalities, but this is basically what we're talking about. The third type is where you have a girl who is sexually molested. And that is not really a true lesbianism. That is a heterophobia. She had some painful, frightening experiences with men sexually, and so she regresses to lesbianism as a comfort zone. That usually has the best prognosis because it's not about deep emotional needs unmet, and it's not about gender identity. It's basically a phobia. So those are basically the three categories you have. To make things complicated, you can have one person with 2 or even 3 of those qualities. So it's hard to separate, but that's basically what you have.
I'd like to know what would be a hard and fast number to use when we talk about the percentage of your counseling that results in complete reparative.
Right. Like what are the rate of cure? Well, for the longest period of time, we used to say a third, a third, a third. A third, no change. A third, significant improvement. A third, cure. And when we say cure, it doesn't mean that they'll never, ever have a homosexual thought or feeling again, but it's a passing, it's something that they can understand and dismiss. As one person once said, it's like a little gnat that buzzes around I can just get rid of. Now, we used to say for the longest period of time, a third, a third, a third. But our therapy is becoming more effective in the last 5 years. And we're developing because remember, it's a clinic that is only dedicated to men and women, mostly men, with unwanted same-sex attraction. So we have 135 ongoing cases. Every week, we have 135 sessions with mostly young men who do not want to be homosexual. So this is all we focus on. It's a staff of 7 therapists, myself, and 5 male therapists and 1 woman working with the lesbian. We think that the women should work with the lesbian should work with the mother, feminine, and the male should work with the male therapist for the father issues, the bonding and the mentoring dimension. Okay, we have better results than we've ever gotten before. In fact, we feel so confident that we now have initiated last year a pre-test and a post-test. We assess in the beginning the homosexual level, and at the end the level of homosexuality, and we expect to see a significant reduction. I can tell you, as a clinical director, when we do staff meetings, if a client is not experiencing, according to the client, not the therapist, but the client himself is reporting a significant reduction in the same-sex attraction. If that's not happening within a couple of months, then the therapist is doing something wrong, he's missing something, or there are extenuating circumstances with this client. Other addictions, other psychological problems that are blocking. But if he's motivated and basically healthy, he will experience significant change. I'm telling you, statistically. Can't say everyone, but we expect it. Yeah. And moving on, excuse me?
I still want to hear a number. What percent?
I can't give you a number because, first of all, you can't, because it's not about crossing a line. It's not like, oh, I was and I just cross over. It diminishes. The same-sex attraction diminishes, and in some, but not all cases, the opposite sex. So it's best to see it as a transitional thing. But I can tell you, the opposite sex attractions we expect now.
Is there so many cross-dressers?
I don't know. Cross-dressing, again, it's a gender identity problem, but it happens earlier. See, that is more really feeling comfortable. Now that's very interesting. It's good that you bring that up because most of our clients are not cross-dressers. They know they're male, but they feel incomplete in their masculinity, but they know they're male. The cross-dresser, if you speak to a cross-dresser or a transvestite, if you will, they will say to you, when I put on the woman's clothing, I feel like I'm really me. Okay, so the is interpreted as, oh, that must be your true identity, right? No, it's not. It's an affect regulator. It's like taking a shot of Jack Daniels, okay? It's an affect regulator, okay? Why? Because again, in earliest childhood, before the gender identity phase, we're talking earlier infancy, mommy was there, mommy left. Mommy was there, mommy left. But when mommy left, she left a piece of her clothing. She left her shoe, she left her scarf, she left her dress. And grabbing these objects is holding on to a piece of mommy. So it's a fantasy infantile incorporation of the unavailable mother. That's what the is. And so they become identified with it, and when they put the woman's clothing on, they feel this relaxation. And that's the origins of it. Yeah. Yes.
I have two questions, and they're sort of unrelated. The first question is, we have pockets of our society that don't have a male role model in the children's life. Can you speak to that as far as, does that impact the young person's sexual identity?
Sure.
And the second question is, speak to the issue of gay couples adopting.
Right.
The fact that has a...
Sure. Okay, first question, the fact that there are not available male images, it's true, that's true. But again, you know, it's not about the masculinity of the father. The little boy doesn't need a very masculine father. Even if the father is very effeminate or is not conventionally masculine in his stereotypic behavior, the boy is going to perceive him as masculine anyway. So that's not the problem. What the problem is the emotional attachment. If the boy can attach to the father, he will see the father as, I mean, the boy just sees male, female at that point. He's not going to be that discriminating. So that is not the problem. It's about emotional attachment. But it is true that we're losing sight of the gender differences, especially masculinity. And that becomes a problem for what we call the at-risk child. Most children wouldn't be affected by it, but the one who is fragile needs a strong male role model. This is another issue that gets away from homosexuality, but the adolescent male needs a father figure, because when he reaches a certain point and the masculine hormones kick in, he's not going to listen to his mother. He's not going to be intimidated by his mother. He needs a father figure that can teach him. Again, the superego. Freud said the father is the reality principle. The father teaches the child about reality. The mother is, you know, unconditionally loving, but the father is conditionally approving. The second point is, again, the American Psychological Association says children who are raised by gays and lesbians are not negatively affected than any other parenting couple. That's not true. When you read the literature, in fact, I read one article way back when this first came up, and it showed that children raised by gays are 50% more likely, twice as much more likely, not 50 times, 50% more likely to identify as gay themselves. Well, according to the American Psychological Association, that's not a problem. It's just, so you're assuming that it's not a problem. But we do see that children raised by gays have lower self-esteem, they're less achievement-oriented, they're less academic, they do not feel they can fit in with their peers as much, because when you become a teenager, you want to bring your friends to the house. And that's when it becomes embarrassing to introduce you to fathers, to daddies, and to mommies, and whatever else. So there are many consequences to the child who is raised by the gay. But again, APA wants to deny all this. Yes?
Right here.
Hopefully this is getting better, but it seems like the church has made this the high holy sin.
Right.
And how has that affected the gay community, and what do we need to do better in order to be effective in ministering?
Well, I think that the church has to move in the direction of providing healing. And it's not about approving or disapproving. You know, I think we go with the extreme. Is it good, is it bad? Should we condemn, or is it a sin or not a sin? Well, if it's biblical, it's clearly not in God's design. The bodies don't match. There's no way you can justify homosexuality as normal and natural. Not physiologically, not anatomically, not psychologically. There's no way. Okay, so what do? So we say, okay, we love you, but you got a problem. And here's an invitation. It's an invitation to work on the problem. That's all we can do. We love you, we accept you. We cannot accept your gay identity, because the assumptions that are built into a gay identity as normal and natural and equal to heterosexuality is just not true. Not only is it not true biblically, it's not true psychologically, it's not true scientifically. So we're not talking about that. That is not acceptable. But we accept you as a person, and we have a ministry here for your consideration. That's all we can do. And really to educate. Yeah.
Sarah.
Talking about the classic triadic relationships with mothers, the roles
I
of
didn't hear a word. Can you what?
Talking about the classic triadic relationship.
the roles of mothers and fathers. I mean, I know that there are mothers and fathers here, and so how? I would imagine that would bring a lot of guilt and shame on them. And so, what would your response be to?
I don't think, I've given this presentation to many, many audiences, many thousands of people, okay? And I've never had any parent come up to me and say, how dare you say, not at all. It's information. It's for them to consider, hey, can I relate to this? Does this fit my family pattern? To what extent does it fit my family pattern? I mean, look, I'm a father. I'm sure I have made mistakes. Maybe someday my son will come to me and say, Dad, if you had only blah, 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 blah. I'll go, hey, I'm learning. Is that right? Did I do that? Okay, what can I do to make it better? How can I help you? That should be the response. I didn't intend to do harm. If I did, what can we do now? That should be the attitude, I think.